Susie Q is a pretty fun film, and I'm glad I had a reason to watch this. I don't believe I'd heard of it, but I'm currently watching all of Shelley Long's films, and it's not necessarily a Shelley Long film. She is in it, she's in it a reasonable amount, but she certainly doesn't play our protagonist. This was released in 1996. It's directed by John Blizek, and this is written by Douglas Sloan and Shuki Levi, and it stars Amy Jo Johnson as Susie Q. We also have Justin Whalin as Zach and Andrea Libman as Teri. Teri is Zach's younger sister, and she is brilliant. There's one scene in particular, and I won't say which scene it is, but I'm pretty confident you'll know which scene I mean, and her performance was just fabulous. Zach lives in the house where Susie Q used to live, and she died as a teenager, and Susie Q appears before him in a way that makes sense within the context of the narrative. I won't give away too much information, but her ghost appears before him, and it turns out that she can help him with something, and he can help her parents with something. And together with Teri, the younger sister, they all work together to try and achieve these various things. I don't want to go into too much details, I don't want to spoil it, but that's not something that I'd seen in a film before that I can think of. There are many, many films where a spirit is on Earth still to help out the individual before they're allowed to move on to their next stage in the afterlife. But I can't think of a film where the person on Earth simultaneously helps out the deceased person. In this case, it's Zach helping out by helping out Susie Q's parents who are still on Earth. And again, I won't spoil how that happens, but it was pretty cleverly done. It's a very well-written narrative. What I'm saying might sound a little far-fetched, and yes, you do need to suspend disbelief a little bit, but the dots connect very well, and I have no problems with the narrative at all. I particularly like the fact that Susie Q died in the 50s, because occasionally she'll say things that are not common terms when this was released, of course, in the 90s, and it just works really well. They didn't need to do that. She could have died a couple of years before this was set, and it would have worked absolutely fine. But I think it just gave it another layer, something else to make it a little bit more interesting, and I rather like that. The performances are really great. As I said, Andrea Libman as Teri was just brilliant. Shelley Long is fantastic. She plays Zach and Teri's mother, but she's not in it a tremendous amount. But she's in it enough that I was relatively happy. It's definitely more of a teen film, but I don't mind that. In general, I'm not a big fan of teen-based films, but this one, because I have a strong belief in the afterlife and that concept for a film works really well for me, and I rather enjoyed it. So definitely one that I had a lot of fun with. I don't know if I ever would have discovered it without Shelley Long. Actually, I probably would have done, because the film was released by Disney, and I am watching every Disney feature film, so I probably would have got round to it eventually. It was distributed on the Disney Channel when it was released, but as I said, I don't think I'd heard of it otherwise. So I'm glad that I've seen it now, really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a fun concept. Definitely need to suspend disbelief a little bit. I don't just mean with the concept of a spirit visiting somebody on Earth and them being able to see them, but a few other things within the narrative definitely aren't realistic. But I didn't mind it too much. It's fun, it's well executed. I think the whole thing with Susie Q worked very well as well. There was a point when a door was shut in her face, for example. It's very easy to forget, in a good way, when she's on screen that she's not living. It just, everything blends together really well. She just looks like a normal person, just for reference. She's not glowing or anything like that, as some spirits can be in some films. That's not what they've gone with here, and it works very well. But there are also the times when we're reminded that she's not living. For example, when she's talking and nobody looks at her because only certain people can see her, when doors are shut in her face, things like that. And everything just works really well. Fun concept, very well executed. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Some really great performances. If it sounds like your kind of film, then I definitely recommend it. Susie Q was definitely pretty enjoyable. It's one I'm glad that I've seen, and I'm happy to recommend it.